25 years in management culminated in my early retirement, receiving three-quarters of the full benefit. I invested stock options into the company's retirement account to avoid taxes and secure a substantial retirement income, surpassing my current salary. Now, with my latest paycheck deposited including vacation pay and an $850,000 check from sold stocks, I have a tidy nest egg. To ensure nothing was overlooked, I conducted a thorough search of the house before leaving for my business trip. My car remained at the office instead of being parked at the airport, as deceived wife was led to believe. The company cake she received on her birthday concealed divorce papers. At 45, my wife and I had been married for 25 years. To prevent the stocks from being classified as marital property, I held off depositing the check until today. I donated my pricey suits to Goodwill, keeping just one, and reduced my belongings. The lower tax rate and cost of living in my new location compared to California would improve my financial situation. I rented a U-Haul for a one-way trip, leased under Uncle John's name through the family trust. It was loaded with all my possessions, arranged by him, and paid for in cash to avoid any trace of me. I departed from the West Coast to return to my modest hometown, avoiding my hated job and my wife's recent behavior. I looked forward to a less complicated life with distant neighbors. My wife overlooked that I still owned my parents' farm, which she detested. Her contempt confirmed my decision to leave. I understood that I had married a snob who hadn't changed, and I wondered if I ever truly knew her genuine self. Her actions made our relationship's truth evident, prompting me to envision my forthcoming life with an unexpected feeling of satisfaction. Leaving my past has far-reaching implications. I hadn't touched the trust left by my parents, keeping the farm out of marital assets. Farmers lease my land, which helped accumulate a substantial emergency fund. Instead of overseeing the design and construction, I choose to repair tractors and heavy machinery. A relative is renovating our old homestead, serving as temporary accommodation until it's habitable. I contacted Kendra to inform her I would depart on a business trip before she returned home from hers. I also confirmed if her travel schedule remained the same. She expressed eagerness to return home after 2 weeks of lugging a suitcase. I had meticulously planned every detail. My 3 daughters and their spouses were scheduled to arrive 2 hours ahead of Kendra for setting up a surprise birthday party, which we all planned together. One of my daughters extended an invitation to her mom's supervisor and his spouse. I subtly hinted, and his wife indicated they would attend since he frequently boasted about Kendra's professional achievements. She wanted to meet the woman she had only heard praises about. The magnitude of the surprise was unknown to my daughters. Over 50 relatives and friends were attending the potluck dinner to honor her belated birthday. We celebrated late as she was with the management team on her actual birthday. She disclosed it was a significant event she couldn't skip. I maintained silence, despite knowing better. I informed my daughters that I had recorded my birthday greetings for my wife onto a disc. Although I needed to travel, I wished to be present in spirit. I requested them to play the recording at the end, shortly before the party began to wind down. This way, everyone would recognize my sentiments towards their mother. They were tasked with managing the timing of the presentation on the large patio TV. Needed to contact my eldest daughter's spouse, informing him of the new phone number and email address upon my arrival. Previously worked with him for several years, where he was a promising employee at my former workplace. Met my eldest daughter through me. While being an accountant, he was aware of my retirement plans. He assumed I was retiring due to discovering his wife's infidelity, which he doubted until presented with the investigator's report. Typically requiring tangible evidence, he is a man who needs to witness to believe. Felt a tinge of remorse over this evening, primarily because David would learn an uncomfortable truth. However, the truth needed to surface. Suggested removing all online contact information, including my Facebook page, once my daughter-in-law was on her flight home. Advised allowing her to ponder the unknown. Despite being a mother-in-law, she deserved it given her actions. Agreed as she would receive half regardless in our state. Sent bank balance copies and a small debts list to my attorney. With half of our house's estimated property tax value, I could afford a new home and spare funds for its furnishing. Discarded my cell phone in the kitchen sink garbage before leaving our home forever. Made sure no actions were noticed until after the party. Leaving California after 25 years was disheartening. Heading back to South Dakota's Badlands as an unknown figure, much like my departure years ago. Only a handful of individuals outside the family would feel my absence. Knowing my video could transform numerous lives brought a smile to my face. Stopped at a cell phone store, bought a new device with a local number for my new location. Made one call, and when a woman answered, I said, "This is my new number, I'm on the move." She acknowledged it, turned off the phone to save battery for emergencies, anticipated the eastward drive in mid-March. In the bloom of spring, the countryside would lose itself in beauty before heat set in. Kendra and I crossed paths at an Aerosmith concert years ago. She was a Californian native, while I hailed from beyond the state borders. We exchanged vows a year later, coinciding with my parents' arrival for our wedding ceremony. At that time, I worked in research and development, while Kendra handled importing and marketing. Both of us had been with the same companies for several years. Even today, Kendra's entrance into any room drew admiring glances. Her physique mirrored its original splendor from when we wed, and she never failed to dress fashionably, accentuating her best assets. As for me, my body bore a typical dad bod, complete with a protruding belly. Kendra had returned home after spending 2 weeks with her boss and lover, Eric Hopper. Though sorry for my sudden departure, she found comfort in our routine. Spending time with Eric was enjoyable, but she eagerly anticipated the return to normalcy. For a couple of weeks, nightly intimacy brought joy and a youthful spirit, but she preferred her husband's twice-weekly affection. Upon landing in the private jet, she swiftly navigated the airport and hopped into her company car for the ride home. When Kendra arrived, she was greeted by her family. All three daughters and their spouses had gathered. Her oldest daughter was 23, while the twins were 22. A festive atmosphere filled the house. Over the ensuing hours, Kendra enjoyed the affection of her loved ones, close friends, and some co-workers from her organization. She was taken aback when her boss and his wife arrived, as they had just spent 2 weeks together. Inquiring about their presence, she learned it was her eldest daughter who extended the invitation. "Your boss boasts about you, and his wife wanted to meet you," she explained. This revelation made Kendra feel unique and proud. At around 8 p.m., her three daughters congratulated their mother on achieving another milestone. "Mom," the twins stated, "Dad decided not to miss out, so he prepared a personal message for you." They switched on the large TV screen and queued up the DVD. The patio crowd fell silent. Everybody listened as my voice spoke, "Happy birthday, dear." I discussed some notable events from the past year. I brought up a few amusing incidents before growing serious, sharing the birth of our first grandson, our last daughter's wedding, our last anniversary, and plans for another honeymoon. "This has been quite a busy year," I said. "I feel we, as a couple, are finally moving towards the same path." I was eagerly anticipating romantic weekends like we used to enjoy before the kids arrived. Upon returning from a foreign trip, I discovered this on our security system. It completely altered my perspective. I found out that my wife and I were living in separate realities. The video began playing, depicting my wife and daughters discussing secret lovers without informing their spouses. The room fell silent as the video played their candid discussions about their romantic partners, describing them, their interactions, and their secrets. They even spoke of shielding each other when necessary. Initially, I was taken aback upon first viewing. It seemed extraordinary to hear women openly discussing their affairs. I needed multiple viewings to come to terms with this new revelation. What fascinated me was their casual attitude towards deceiving their partners. Kendra boasted about having her third lover in the last decade. She claimed each partner offered her unique and exhilarating experiences until she grew tired. She openly admitted she was already seeking her fourth. It was evident that these men were oblivious to how their wives truly felt towards them. Maintaining the illusion they were paramount was effortless. All they had to do was convince them of their central role in their lives. The insights they shared were revealing to some spouses also present at the gathering. For many, it would be an unforgettable night. I returned on screen to express, wondering if they realized they were under our surveillance system. If they did, then they had orchestrated this deception against me, the crudest prank ever played. But if not, it revealed their genuine feelings towards each other. I stated. However, it instilled a seed of doubt within me. The following clip will display what my investigators uncovered. The second clip showcased my wife and her boss during their last business trip. Filmed in the initial week of their 2-week stay, it documented every moment. It captured their long hours at Vancouver's exclusive nude beach, the shared hotel suite at the Westin Bayshore Hotel, the romantic horse carriage ride through Stanley Park, intimate conversations and dinners, a boat ride around the cove, a whale-watching excursion. To an outsider, it seemed like a honeymoon. When the video concluded, it was clear that I had been deceived on multiple occasions. My final recorded words encapsulated the essence of the situation. It appears that this was your birthday gift to yourself, dear Kendra. Celebrating your 43rd birthday with your latest lover must have been exhilarating. I couldn't definitively prove you slept with your boss, Eric Hopper, every night during your trip, but I also couldn't disprove it. What I am certain of is that your room only had a single double bed. To my 3 sons-in-law, I question whether you truly understand what your wives are up to behind your backs. It seems I was similarly unaware. I wonder if the children I think are mine are really yours. The same doubt lingers about my kids and their true paternity. How many of these business trips were merely cover for your trysts with your latest lover, Kendra? Did I fail as a lover and husband for all these years, based on the length of your affairs? It seems so, given their duration. In this new truth, I realized how insignificant I was to you. If you were so discontented, why didn't you seek a divorce instead? I have one more query for you, Kendra. Are you regarded as a valuable employee by Mr. Hopper due to your willingness to engage in sexual relationships with him? In light of the information we now possess, what exactly is he compensating you for? Does he provide additional payment for your services beyond the scope of your job description? What's the going rate for a married woman to serve as his personal escort? I long to be present and hear Eric Hopper's responses myself. I suspect that if she were here, his wife might be curious about these questions too. My remarks have stirred up many unanswered questions and tarnished several reputations. Even in laid-back California, everyone felt uneasy being involved in this situation. In California, the police seldom deal with thefts under $1,000. That was one of the prices we paid for living here. The discussion would undoubtedly lead to heated conversations between spouses when they returned home that night. There was no doubt that this celebration would be etched into everyone's memories forever. I learned later that my wife, Kendra, and our 3 daughters were weeping. I questioned if it was due to the realization of their actions or if they had been discovered. I was skeptical that any of them cared about me in that moment. The cherry on top was when Eric Hopper's wife, Karen Hopper, who was a stunning 37-year-old, produced 2 legal documents and served us both. It was said that Karen derived satisfaction from slapping my soon-to-be ex-wife and hurling abusive remarks at her. Both Kendra and her lover were now being divorced by their respective spouses, dealing with the public repercussions of their actions. One might ponder about what they thought of their new circumstances. Eric was taken aback to be caught and exposed in front of his wife. He could never reverse the events that transpired. They had both seen and heard my evidence. He believed his wife was oblivious because she had always trusted him implicitly. He then figured she was my attorney. Kendra orchestrated this entire situation. To salvage his marriage, he'd need to dismiss her. His disclosure of truth regarding his wife and life had led to 5 marriages' collapse. My sons-in-law requested their wives avoid home until they confessed completely. Despite the younger generation's liberal views on ethics, some lines were too far crossed. However, this is California, where norms are distinct. Regrettably, such an event was needed for them to understand it. Exhausted, I drove and stopped at a motel. They could see my truck parked there. Upon checking in, I grabbed one of my suitcases and the new phone, heading to my room. After freshening up with a shower, I prepared for bed, charging the phone. My curiosity prompted me to switch on the device to check if there was a message from the woman with my contact information. I did receive a message. The text read, "Back from the party. Call me." Karen, my divorce attorney, picked up before the third ring. "Hello, love," I said. "How was your day?" "Better than anticipated," Karen responded. Eric and I got to the house around, and there were quite a few people there. Everyone seemed in high spirits. The party went on wonderfully for 5 hours. "You were correct, they had no idea," Karen commented. Kendra was ecstatic, feeling like the queen bee. "Just as things were wrapping up, your daughters played a video of yours. Because of the revelations in it, Karen said she gained 3 new clients for the firm." She paused to catch her breath. "As soon as the video featuring your wife and daughters played, they remembered they had left the security cameras on that day. It was amusing to hear all 4 women exclaim, 'Oh dear, we're in trouble,' simultaneously." Karen chuckled. The casual manner in which they discussed their affairs surprised everyone. Then, the clip of our spouse's romantic trip confirmed it all. Everyone knew the first conversation was genuine. When I served our spouses, they scattered quickly. It was as if someone shouted, "Fire at your home." My 3 daughters' husbands inquired if I was a divorce attorney. I responded affirmatively, explaining my profession. Upon saying so, I received retainer checks on the spot. It seemed that their relationships with my daughter might also end in divorce. Karen gleefully stated that she had driven Eric's car home and left him there. "Did they try to reach me?" I inquired. "After most people had departed, your wife attempted to call you. As we watched, she discovered your ringing phone in the trash can. Discarding your phone conveyed a powerful message without uttering a word. It was as though you were telling your family that you were finished with them," Karen explained. My husband remained silent, thinking he had been so cautious. I replied with a smile. "The timer is ticking. 6 months from the time we filed our paperwork, our divorces could be finalized. I am glad I stumbled upon that conversation on the security system. Without it, I wouldn't have met you. Perhaps they will resolve things swiftly, with minimal conflict." Karen inquired, "Are you still adamant about liquidating all assets?" To which I responded, "Yes, unless she decides to purchase my share. Given the current trend of people leaving California, it might benefit me if that's her preference," I added. "Tomorrow, she will likely start panicking. I can hardly wait to witness her reaction when she learns you no longer work for your previous employer." Karen sighed heavily. "I plan to list my law practice for sale tomorrow. I've informed my sister and her husband about your visit. They are eager to meet you. He still holds a gratitude towards you for your role in securing his tractor dealership some years ago. The situation they've established has repercussions that are just unfolding." In response, I mused, "I wonder if they will continue to find amusement once we're done," before signing off. Kendra held her husband's phone, considering telling him that Eric Hopper meant nothing to me, and our 3 daughters were his. Then it struck her. He no longer cared about the truth. He made it clear he was ending things with them as a result of her deceit. It was her self-centered actions that led to their downfall. She hadn't considered the repercussions of being discovered. Now she understood that fleeting moments of enjoyment, thrill, and secret affairs weren't worth the price. There was no turning back. Loy remained a small town in essence, where forgiveness might be granted, but forgetfulness seldom occurs. Whispers would trail her for a long time. Colin's actions conveyed a clear message. He had erased them from his life, at least until he overcame his resentment. Although it might take him some time, he had previously pardoned her misbehavior. Perhaps he would do so again. Kendra started to harbor the hope that eventually she could regain his favor. Kendra acknowledged to herself that her lifestyle wasn't premeditated. It had evolved gradually over the years. Given her forward-thinking nature, she was more prone to blame others rather than take responsibility. She never perceived any flaw in her actions. After all, no one seemed to be harmed. Following a successful escape in the first affair, she found herself entangled in another romantic involvement, with Eric Hopper becoming her third lover. Previously, unbeknownst to her, she never anticipated exposure. Her hectic careers with Colin kept them so engrossed that they mostly ignored the outside world when at home. A lapse in judgment led to her downfall. The ripple effect of her actions resulted in the potential dissolution of her daughter's marriages as well. Karen and I, despite living less than 20 miles apart, never crossed paths due to our age gap. I had graduated high school before she even started. Scheduling a meeting with her law firm to discuss divorce options, fate conspired for her to represent me. Upon hiring her, I presented the incriminating video clip. She was taken aback when she recognized that the man my wife discussed might be her husband. We cross-checked this via her personal Facebook account. On that fateful day, we both reached a mutual conclusion. Our marriages were no more. Sharing a common ground in the betrayal by our spouses, we formed a bond. After a lengthy discussion about professional ethics, we decided to collaborate. As our relationship deepened during our joint investigation, it grew beyond professional boundaries. To begin with, we maintained a professional front, but in time, we assisted each other in healing. Within a few weeks, we transitioned into friends. If you haven't lived it, it's hard to comprehend the pain of betrayal, rage, hurt, and hate. Our relationship developed as we navigated these feelings through numerous conversations. Our bond was forged out of mutual necessity. Discussing our past brought us even closer. We were spiritual kin with shared histories. We joked about familiar places and memories from our youth, which brought a sense of relief. These conversations eased our tension. Neither of us sought romance, but it blossomed. Last week, following her discussions with her daughters, we confessed our feelings we had fallen in love. So far, our relationship has been platonic. We intend to maintain this until our divorces are finalized, for simplicity's sake. Just yesterday, shortly after I parted ways with Kendra, Karen phoned. She had just informed her daughters about their father, and they were skeptical. I inquired if her eldest daughter was still present. She agreed, so I requested a conversation with her. Upon learning she's my legal representative, I informed her daughter of this and disclosed evidence relevant to them. I clarified that I didn't recognize Karen when I engaged her for the divorce proceedings. It wasn't until I presented my evidence that we discovered our predicament was shared. I proposed they review the evidence prior to making any decisions. Approximately 30 minutes later, Karen's daughters arrived at my residence. I demonstrated the house's security system and its functionality, explaining that external cameras could be deactivated before entering, but internal ones would record any sound or motion if forgotten. I deemed it necessary for them to comprehend this prior to viewing the video. Subsequently, Amber and Meadow viewed a conversation between my wife and our daughters, which left them astonished. Hearing their father discuss personal matters with my wife was distressing. This is what your mother observed after I employed her. Due to her integrity, I couldn't disclose the source of my knowledge, I stated. At present, your father and my wife are in Vancouver, pretending for a business trip. Investigators are gathering more evidence. Upon her return, divorce papers will be served to Kendra. In a lengthy discussion with the two girls, I emphasized the essence of marriage vows, stating that while forgiveness might be effortless, rebuilding trust is the genuine struggle. I conveyed my worry that they were learning from their mother's actions, an issue Kendra acknowledged has persisted for years. This situation has led us to question the authenticity of our marital promises and changed our perspective on our marriage. Our lives have been shattered by these events, and without our children, everything we once knew would feel like deceit. Meadow, Karen's youngest, astounded me with her wisdom, observing that if our spouses respected us, they wouldn't have betrayed us. Following the conversation, I phoned Karen to share its outcome. Later, she shared with me that her daughters found her approachable in conversations. Amber, Karen's child, pointed out my resemblance to her grandfather due to my ability to simplify and clarify intricate matters, which she links to our common rural upbringing. Both Karen and I are recognizing the worth of the uncomplicated lifestyle we left behind and are aspiring to reclaim it. Stepping away from the relentless pace and cutthroat competition of our present lives, the next morning I resumed my journey. I rejoined Interstate East. By evening, I aimed to exit Nevada and enter northern Utah, close to the Wyoming border. I chose to take things slow to catch a glimpse of sights I had long desired. To my surprise, I felt tranquil. That night, following hotel check-in, I checked my fresh email account. A message awaited from my eldest son-in-law. Fortunately, he provided his contact number. "Hello, David," I greeted. "Hello, Dad." "I'm happy you called," he responded. "I have much to share, but first, could you tell me your location?" "I'm traveling and nursing my wounds," I responded with a serious laugh. "I'll pass this on to the person inquiring about your whereabouts," David mentioned. Today was quite hectic. Kendra unexpectedly appeared at the office, wanting to know where you were. She decided to fly out to resolve things between you two. Despite everything, she believed there was a chance for the relationship, he added. When informed that you had retired, she asked for confirmation. I was contacted to speak with her. I told her about your early retirement and relocation plans. She inquired about the destination, and I replied that I didn't know. She accused me of lying, saying you know where the retirement funds are sent or can find out. He confirmed this information for me. The situation deteriorated from there. I had to call security to remove her, he concluded. I shouldn't have chuckled, but I did. Carrie contacted and informed that her mother had been dismissed immediately following Eric Hopper being served with your $5 million alienation of affection lawsuit by a lawyer in Vancouver. She needed a taxi to return home. Kendra consulted a labor attorney for another case. They served him around 4 this afternoon, David clarified. Carrie wants to see our son at home. I told her we won't do anything until I confirm my son is mine. If she disagrees, let her take me to court. Carrie asserted that she hasn't been with anyone since we married, he added. I retorted, that contradicts your own words in the recorded conversation. At least they aren't harassing me about it now, I said lightheartedly. I'm making use of this unexpected trip to explore sites I've long desired. This sudden holiday is turning out to be one of the best decisions I've made recently. Is it true you're considering a divorce from her, David? The twins have left their belongings with Kendra. David replied, my wife will remain there as well. Currently, no one is willing to interact with them due to the uproar. Everyone is too confused to think clearly. As for divorce, it hinges on the results of the DNA test. If he's not my son, there's no basis for us to continue our marriage. At this point, I feel deceived, as if I was presented with a fabricated narrative. She only revealed what she wanted me to see, much like bait on a hook. I've had approximately 6 months to process my emotions. Trust me, it takes that long to discern what one can tolerate. So, take your time and don't rush into decisions, he suggested. Time has helped me heal and rebuild my life. It's charting a new course, and I'm enthusiastic about the future, I stated. So you have no intention of returning? David inquired. I'll only return if one of my lawyers requires me for court, I responded. The location I'm moving to offers lower taxes and living expenses, so I'll be financially better off. Additionally, the CEO wants me to function as an advisor occasionally. Since I can do so from my new home via a secure connection on my computer, I'll always be accessible. I agreed, as long as no suit or tie is required. Dad, David remarked, people here miss you. Too. Yes, that's my new number, I confirmed about the cell phone. For now, keep it confidential, I added. Lastly, regarding Kendra, instruct him to inform her she can reconnect with one of her other friends with benefits. If she objects, suggest he remind her. For the past 10 years, you've viewed him as your backup plan. 3. Unbeknownst to me, David secretly recorded our conversation and forwarded it to my wife and daughters. Later, I discovered Kendra was displeased. She felt I had no business advising my son-in-law on anything, considering I was merely a man. My daughters were learning the price of adopting their mother's lifestyle. Each of their spouses desired minimal interaction with them. They appeared to be turning against their mother. I reached out to Karen, who was thrilled to hear from me. She and her team had been overwhelmed by 5 additional divorce cases due to my wife's surprise birthday celebration. It appears that a couple of Kendra's ex-partners were uncovered. She knew about Kendra's dismissal, but said it was Eric's effort to reconcile, yet she showed no interest. However, she hadn't realized the board of directors had already spoken with her, clarifying everything. Kendra would be rehired and promoted, while he would face demotion for misusing company assets for personal use. She excelled at her job. Karen informed her daughter that she was moving back to South Dakota following her divorce. If they wished to remain in California, they would have to secure their own residence or reside with their father. She's reached an age where she desires a less complicated lifestyle, she mentioned. Meadow inquired, "Is this because you've found yourself smitten with Colin?" Karen responded, "Indeed, but we haven't taken action on it as of yet. However, I felt compelled to share our tale," Meadow stated. "I hope it rejuvenates your youthful spirit," Karen said. "It does," she replied. She proposed they join her upon relocation, noting, "You are old enough to determine the sort of life you desire. Take note of what I'm experiencing." I grasped that Kendra might find it difficult to locate another man like me due to the media attention surrounding our separation. Her actions had jeopardized her chances for an honest, affectionate relationship. I pondered over how long it would take for her to acknowledge this. Around noon, I arrived at my hometown, having driven over 3 days to get here. I stumbled upon a small diner and entered to eat before proceeding to the farm. During my last week at work, I had arranged for the electricity to be connected. I was waiting for my burger and fries, sipping coffee. Son of a witch. "Is that you, Colin White?" An elderly man entered and took a seat in my stall, saying, "Nice to see you, lad. You're looking well." To which I replied, "Thank you, Uncle John. Where's your spouse?" With a grin, I asked. "She and the daughters are at home preparing it," he explained, as he had dealt with some minor plumbing issues. "The house is nearly ready for moving in," he added, after they cleaned it up, fixed the refrigerator, and replaced the old stove's fuses. "You might consider updating and modernizing," he suggested. "Living in town now, Robert and his wife have taken over the farm." "Good," I said, offering to order some food on him for us to chat. It was delightful to be with family again. Prior to heading to my childhood home, I stopped at the local grocery store to buy necessities. Remarkably, food prices were significantly lower here. I filled 2 carts. By the time I reached the checkout, the cashier and I had attended the same school, so we reminisced while she processed my purchase. Upon reaching my family residence, I was taken aback by its appealing exterior. My aunt and cousins emerged to welcome me, assisting with the grocery unloading. Following this, we prepared coffee. Once they departed, I scrutinized the house more thoroughly. As predicted by Uncle John, significant renovations were required. I contacted him for suggestions of reliable construction teams. 2 hours later, he presented these crews at the house, affording me time to settle in. After examining the property, we concluded it would be less expensive to construct a new dwelling. The existing house required complete overhauls on its electrical system and plumbing. The barn remained in decent condition. With a fresh roof, some timber replacements, and a coat of paint, it would resemble a new structure. The stalls would be demolished so I could utilize the barn as my workshop for tractor and heavy equipment maintenance. That evening, I contacted Karen to share what I had discovered. We agreed on a one-level house design featuring a small cool cellar for storage, situated over a 4 ft crawl space and double insulated for the chilly winters. The following day, I planned to visit Karen's brother-in-law's dealership. I contacted the contractor regarding my requirements. He mentioned he would share some plans after completing work. I handed back the rental truck and headed towards a nearby car dealership. There, I purchased a slightly used Ford truck with minimal mileage, transferred ownership, and insured it before returning the rental. After that, I visited the bank, made a deposit, collected a few blank checks, and requested some more. The staggering difference in gas prices caught my attention. It was significantly cheaper here. Subsequently, I went to meet Karen's elder brother, who was a high school acquaintance. He promptly offered me a job opportunity. I could join whenever convenient. I discussed my current plans and my existing relationship with the corporation. He joked about Karen and our connection. He admitted he had never quite comprehended his sister's first spouse. I concurred with his sentiments. I concurred with the contractor on a price for constructing a 4-bedroom residence, complete with a spacious 2-car garage at the back of the existing property. We opted for a fresh septic system, gas for heating, water supply, and cooking, supplemented by a substantial gas generator for backup power. The design would incorporate an open-concept layout, laundry room, mudroom linked to the garage, and double-insulated crawl space. The expenses would be financed through my divorce settlement. Following my discussion with Karen regarding the signed contract for the new house and her brother, David phoned to share that Kendra had engaged a private firm to locate me, hoping we could reconcile. I conveyed to David there was no need for reconciliation as Kendra would merely repeat her actions if we got back together. Reflecting on my statements, David acknowledged that many intelligent individuals overlook straightforward truths, causing numerous issues within our administration. I clarified that Kendra does not perceive her actions as the issue and believes I require retraining to accept her conduct. She's not remorseful for her actions, only for getting caught. David conceded the validity of my point of view and felt compelled to discuss marriage equality with Carrie. He referenced his father saying, "The same goes for both," and realized his mother viewed him as a tool. I advised David to request marriage counseling, ideally with a conservative therapist, to introduce Carrie to alternative perspectives. David agreed that unless Carrie finds equilibrium, their relationship may not last, and he might need to depart for his mental well-being. Subsequently, I undertook the barn renovation, dismantling the stalls. It kept me occupied. The labor was arduous, but it felt good to exercise my muscles again. I found myself relishing it. On Thursday, an unexpected call came in. It was from Karen. "My daughters thought I needed a pick-me-up," she said. "They informed my brother about our divorces. They had done the same. For approximately 4 months, they were unaware that he was already informed about the situation." Meadow detailed how she discovered their father's infidelity and also mentioned how you were introduced to them. Joseph revealed that he went to school with you and recounted how you aided him in acquiring the dealership years ago. "I owe him greatly." It emerged that you had returned home to manage your family's farm. They conversed about us for roughly an hour. Slowly, more details surfaced. They were shocked by their favorite uncle's acceptance of our relationship. "Kindly ensure they do not disclose this information." "Kendra employed a firm to locate me," I stated. "She believes if she can simply speak with me, she can persuade me to forgive and return." "How did you learn about that?" Karen inquired. "I phoned my eldest son-in-law at the office. He keeps me updated," I replied. "Additionally, our conversation is aiding him in determining his next steps." "No objections there," Karen said. "My daughters have promised not to reveal what they've done." "Interesting," I pondered. "They utilized my credit card to secure a flight for me." At 8 p.m. on Friday evening, I arrived at the regional airport, as Karen elaborated. "Begin living your dream, mother," they encouraged, adding that we both deserved it. I eagerly waited for her with a dozen red roses, feeling a mix of excitement and anticipation. This weekend signified our first official time together, which brought a smile to my face since the last time I felt this carefree was during my teenage years. As she approached, her brunette hair styled to complement her natural beauty, I couldn't help but grin. It was endearing to see her in casual attire, blue jeans, a yellow blouse, and a soft denim-like jacket, looking relaxed and authentic. Given that she hadn't eaten, we picked up her luggage and went to Ruby Tuesdays, where I had planned a surprise. Upon parking and securing her luggage, we entered the restaurant. Her brother and sister-in-law were already present, and by the end of dinner, Karen consented to be her brother's lawyer when she moved back home. Driving up the driveway of my old family home, I didn't know what awaited me. A conventional 60s house, cozy and robust, greeted me. Karen's face brightened as she entered. After finding a seat, I served her a beer, unearthed a few of my parents' old records, and played them. It was pleasant listening to Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Old Blue Eyes, with Karen on the couch, reminding us of teenagers. These were the tunes our parents used to listen to when we were younger. We proceeded cautiously, wanting to ensure we were making the right choice. Kendra was displeased. She was accustomed to getting her way. She needed to speak with her husband Colin, but couldn't seem to reach him. There was no record of him leaving on a flight, renting a car, or anything else. Even private investigators were drawing blanks. His Facebook account was deactivated, his credit card canceled at his request by Bank of America. Every avenue she explored ended in nothing. Each day this week, her attorney phoned, seeking the name of his legal representative. She hadn't employed one as she believed their marriage could be rescued. He had deleted all contacts from his old call log. She couldn't recall his relatives' names as his family was never significant to her. His family had never mattered much, so she paid little heed. He had been meticulous in erasing all evidence of himself, leaving no trace, not even his social security number. Even the girls were growing anxious. He was consistently in touch with them, but since his departure, nobody had heard from him except David, who remained tight-lipped. He had informed her eldest, Carrie, to avoid contact until he proved little Colin as his son, yet there was no rush. When Carrie confronted him, he derided her. A husband should not behave that way. Colin wasn't acting like himself, and it vexed her. Colin was always reliable, but now things were infuriatingly puzzling. The one steadfast aspect she trusted was him, but now she needed to employ someone to perform his usual tasks. The predicament lay in the fact that replacement labor lacked the attention and affection Colin always displayed. This turn of events was placing immense strain on everyone. If only Colin had continued with his customary duties, her bond with her daughters wouldn't be deteriorating. They were partially attributing their relationship issues to her, which was unjustified. Colin was failing in his obligations. It is each woman's responsibility to maintain order in their lives. Every man in a relationship must comprehend that the woman wields control. Upon finding Colin, she would make him pay dearly for his inappropriate behavior towards her and their offspring. There's nothing more straightforward or picturesque than resting on the porch, sipping coffee while watching the sunrise. Indeed, Karen and I were engaged in this very activity. Prior to this, I hadn't grasped why my parents would initiate their day in such a manner whenever possible. In this place, feeling cherished and valued by the universe and you makes one confident to confront anything, Karen remarked. They could silently observe, as their perception of life was congruent. I grasped her hand, just like my father used to hold my mother's. Without uttering a word, I understood I was conveying much. Upon our return home, I recognized I was reclaiming my authentic self and abandoning the persona I had adopted. The transformation has already begun in me. I feel more solid and serene than I can ever recall, I whispered softly. I noticed the same weightlessness lift from you last night as you approached me. It's a sensation you cannot articulate until you encounter it. Your words suggest it is impacting you too, Karen acknowledged. This environment offers a cultural jolt. Nothing seems contrived here, it's all genuine. Here, one can hear their thoughts clearly. The quietness of the morning facilitates this. I had forgotten how exquisite and tranquil silence can be. These instances deepen the essence of life that flourishes when two souls are prepared. This weekend served as an opportunity for us both, fostering self-discovery. Despite drawing near, we abstained from sexual intimacy. We sought something more profound from our relationship than mere physicality. I had my first encounter with her parents. The visit was pleasant, and I was tasked with fixing the timing on his tractor and minor issues. This took approximately 4 hours, after which it operated smoothly and steered accurately. For the first time, Karen witnessed me covered in oil, grease, and dirt. She observed me cleaning up in their mudroom, smiling throughout. My mother would say that mudrooms are designed to prevent men from bringing mess into the house. Her father expressed gratitude for my presence, as the tractor would have been at the mechanic's for a week otherwise. Her mother was delighted at the prospect of her only daughter returning home. Parting ways with her at the airport on Sunday evening was heartbreaking. 2 months have passed since I departed California, and events were progressing smoothly. Kendra secured a lawyer, and a 50/50th division was sanctioned by the court. Karen's husband persisted in his foolishness, hoarding every penny possible. David and Carrie sought marriage counseling because the baby was his. They attended sessions weekly, making gradual progress. Carrie started viewing the predicament differently, being compelled to perceive things from another perspective. Little Colin flourished rapidly. I eagerly anticipated meeting the young lad. Kendra and my daughters, Faith and Hope, were both shaken by their divorces. Their ex-husbands conveyed that they couldn't rely on them anymore. Regrettably, I comprehended why. The bond between my ex-wife and her daughters underwent a permanent transformation. I returned to Leh, summoned by private jet for a week or two to scrutinize the company's latest model before it passed final inspection for mass production. For the following 2 weeks, I focused on enhancing its durability, robustness, mobility, and repairability. The company reserved a room for me at one of the town's Hampton Inns and Suites. Amber Hopper chose to dine with her mother at the hotel restaurant. They were settled when I arrived. Upon seeing me, Amber smiled and approached. Earlier that day, we had met over coffee to confirm our plans were on track. "Mama, I hope you won't mind, but I invited a friend to join us, so you might want to scoot along the booth a bit," Amber said. "I think you'll be pleased with their presence," Karen replied. "What have you been up to?" she asked, scooting over to make space. "It's just someone I've gotten acquainted with in the past few weeks, and Meadow and I are both eager to invest more time with him," Amber explained. As I sat down, Karen turned to face me, her expression lighting up when she recognized me. For the past 2 months, I grew a mustache and goatee and seemed to have lost weight, but I didn't. Instead, my body fat transformed into muscle. "Wow, what a shocker," Karen remarked. "I like your new appearance, but why are you here?" "Initially, I'm having dinner with my girlfriend and her daughter. During the meal, I will disclose the reason," I replied. "Thank you for assisting me with this unexpected plan, Amber." Just as we were about to order, Meadow arrived. "I hope I didn't arrive too late," Meadow said upon sitting down. "I had to work longer than anticipated." During the meal, I revealed that I was in town to test a new model set for release in years. The main difference was that this massive tractor would operate on natural gas. If it lives up to our expectations, farmers could install a refill station on their farms at the cost of labor. The equipment cost would incorporate the fixtures for the refill pump. Considering natural gas is less expensive and cleaner than gasoline, we believed we had an extremely appealing product. If the prototype proved successful, the company planned to introduce it as part of a novel line. As dessert was about to arrive, Karen's daughters posed a query. "Are you two planning to move to South Dakota before school resumes in September?" Karen responded. "Yes, why do you ask?" one of them queried. "How far is Vermilion from your new residence, Mom?" Amber questioned. "Approximately 50 miles from the farm." "Why do you ask?" Amber questioned. "I'm commencing my MBA at the University of South Dakota this fall," she explained. "The university is one of the cheapest in the country, allowing me to reduce living expenses." Karen tried to suppress her emotions while smiling. I held her hand tightly. "Indeed, you were correct. We are constructing a new 4-bedroom house. It will be completed next month," I added. "We intended to finish it in case either of you chose to move here. You should communicate the preferred colors for your rooms to your mom." Meadow suggested that we were intending to visit. Karen clarified that she was more hoping. "They wanted you to decide independently, as forcing you might lead to resentment towards Colin, who would end up bearing the consequences." "How did you know that, Mom?" Amber inquired. Karen revealed that Colin had asked if they could be trusted to make their own decisions. She confirmed her trust in them. Colin further stated that your relationship with her was stronger than with your father. Amber and Meadow looked at me in confusion. Then Amber spoke up. "The very first night you evaluated us, didn't you, Colin? By the time we left, you had figured out our plans, right?" I clarified that I knew Amber was pursuing further education, and it could be anywhere. Meadow was my main concern. When she mentioned respect, I understood the outcome. The most challenging part was reassuring your mother that everything would work out fine. Unfamiliarity can be challenging, but eventually, clarity emerges with time about the appropriate responses. After concluding dinner, Karen and I planned to watch a movie while Amber and Meadow returned home. It was then that Kendra noticed me, arriving as I opened the car door for Karen. Due to my transformed appearance, it took her a few moments to recognize me. My life had undergone significant changes, as I no longer spent time behind a desk. By the time she figured out it was me, we had already left. My weight loss came from manual labor on the barn, installing a wood stove for heat, and carrying out general cleanup tasks. The years of potbelly I carried had vanished, replaced by a lean physique. Stress that had burdened me for years was absent, making me appear younger than I had in quite some time. In many aspects, I experienced a rebirth. Suppressed portions of my soul, concealed by past relationships, seemed to resurface as if they had been liberated. After the movie, I drove Karen home and headed to my suite, setting a morning wake-up call. Security acknowledged me upon arrival, allowing me access to view the completed new design for the first time. This was the most enjoyable aspect, examining the polished product before it received final approval prior to mass production. Although research and development can be monotonous, witnessing the completed masterpiece made it all worthwhile. I immediately began testing, making adjustments like rerouting the feeding line away from direct heat and fixing minor issues, which I noted for the final report. The team was taken aback by my early progress, and everyone complimented my appearance. During this time, the president dropped in while I operated the test tractor to move and reposition LB. It moved smoothly and skillfully, particularly through the mud-filled test area we had created. He chuckled upon seeing me in blue jeans, sporting a white t-shirt and wearing a reversed blue baseball cap, while skillfully operating that massive tractor as if it belonged to me. The gear shifting was seamless. The tractor's arms could handle the necessary weight. Despite my multiple attempts to tip it, I failed every time, even driving it off a ramp on two wheels, but it gracefully returned to all fours. Its equilibrium in this machinery was commendable. "Colin, you're still the best," the president remarked. "If you could flip this tractor upside down, you would. Given its performance under my pressure, I believe it will rank among the top 5 we have ever engineered so far," I replied. "Apart from a couple of minor tweaks, it's performing exceptionally well. An added advantage is that it consumes less fuel than a typical diesel engine," I mentioned as I extended my hand. "Glad to see you again, Pete," he responded with a smile. "If you wish to return to your previous role, we are ready for you, yet it's apparent why you left. Have you stumbled upon the legendary Fountain of Youth?" Incidentally, unbeknownst to him, he tested my approach towards a new product. Just as with my first truck, I treated it like junk. By the close of day, I claimed it had fared well, 1 failure, 8 more trials left. It was around 8 before I reached my hotel. Upon re-entry into the lobby, I noticed Carrie and her husband David waiting. Carrie held little Colin. Coated in dry mud from top to toe, I resembled someone in need of a shower. Spotting me, Carrie approached. "Hi, Dad," she greeted. "You appear well. May we speak or not?" Glancing at David, I acknowledged his cue and agreed, assuring them I'd first take a shower. Afterwards, David joined us. "Feel free to wait down here or head up to the suite with a kitchen," I suggested. "We can opt for food delivery or dine here. Both are suitable to me." As suggested, we headed to your suite to order through room service while you were showering. This gave us a chance for our much-needed private conversation. I then took a quick shower myself. As I was getting ready, Karen phoned. So I informed her of the situation and assured her I'd call back later. I opened a bottle of Crown Royal and poured drinks for all. The kids requested Coke. I diluted it slightly and mixed it up. Carrie shared that she and David had been facing troubles over the past 2 months. "The conversation you discovered seemed to bring these issues to light. Frankly, she had moved back home just a week ago. We'd all believed that you were aware and approved of her mother's outside relationships." Carrie's mother explained their differing sexual appetites as the reason for her actions. "David and I were making no progress, so I underwent a polygraph test to provide evidence for both of us regarding my actions or lack thereof. Prior to this, our relationship was heading towards divorce. I then expressed my hope that both parties would recognize the harm inflicted upon them, as rebuilding trust will require time and absolute honesty moving forward. Upon holding my grandson close, I requested David to capture a photo of us together. I have come to realize that in many aspects, I've been emulating my mother, who would justify her actions based on her perspective. However, this does not change the fact that her actions were still wrong. Carrie continued by saying, I was acting instinctively as it felt so natural. It's quite a surprise for me to find myself taking a moment to think before taking action. David then responded, I'm discovering aspects of her I wasn't aware of before. It seems we have a better than 50% likelihood of success, I noted. Remember, it requires patience, open dialogue, and genuine empathy. Since you're young, don't hesitate to seek individual guidance or counsel. Kendra let societal expectations cloud her judgment until she rationalized abandoning the marriage. I suspect she still blames me for the breakdown. Dad, you're correct, Carrie agreed. I informed my sisters that I wouldn't tolerate Kendra justifying herself anymore. We argued, and I told them to clear their minds before we could discuss it further. For now, let's focus on something else. Our meal arrived, making for a pleasant dinner together. Carrie wondered if I was adhering to any specific diet regimen. I chuckled, informing them I'd been engaging in physical labor rather than mental work, and my body was responding positively. My days were no longer spent seated behind a desk or on the couch. It was nearly 10 when they departed. As they departed, Carrie embraced me and murmured, I like this new fatherly version of you. I laughed again, clarifying that since our divorce began, hidden aspects of myself had emerged because my long-term relationship with her mother had influenced me in ways I hadn't recognized. I reached out to Karen to check if she was still awake. She was, so I phoned her and shared how the night unfolded. Time heals all wounds is a commonly used phrase, but it's not accurate. It merely suggests that one has come to terms with what transpired. Nothing more, nothing less. You adapt yourself to endure it and accept the unchangeable. However, this doesn't make it right, despite the claims of progressives. Faith and Hope learned this lesson the hard way. On Tuesday evening, around 7 p.m., I entered the Hampton Inn lobby, where my two young daughters were waiting. Initially, I thought Kendra had surprised me, but it was far from that. My twin daughters intended to reprimand me for my behavior towards their mother. In their perspective, my actions towards her were cowardly. Earlier, I'd taken them to my suite to discuss matters privately, but they confronted me about leaving my marriage with their mom. They confessed that both of their marriages had ended due to their husband's inability to cope with them being strong, modern-day, independent women. Exasperated, I summoned security. Upon their arrival, I asked them to escort the young ladies out as I showed no interest in their suggestions. The young ladies were escorted out through the back door and warned never to return. The Hampton Inn security informed them that high-end prostitutes weren't appreciated due to potential health risks for patrons. Karen found it amusing. She commented, those women will be doing a lot of self-reflection tonight because money is always the price paid for sex without love. She inquired if she could inform Amber and Meadow about this incident. I agreed. She stated that if one wanted to ignite dynamite without a match, she couldn't have done a better job. 2 hours later, Carrie called my room, congratulating me. Well done, Dad, she said. My two sisters just learned that their actions are as foul-smelling as everyone else's. They left here crying. I admitted that I couldn't resist the chance to educate them since they refused to listen to my explanation earlier. Eventually, I made the only call possible. Security conducted background checks on both of them. They turned out innocent. Faith and Hope attempted to clarify, despite our varying surnames. However, they remained unconvinced. I informed them when their companions were moaning and whining them over, they were actually being compensated beforehand. By the expression on their faces, it seems they finally understood. I'm relieved now that I didn't follow that path. I'm embarrassed that I even discussed it, I stated. Were you privy to this discussion? I queried. He listened in and was pleased with how I elucidated the matter. It proved beneficial for us as we can both view the situation more clearly now, Carrie clarified. How could our mother have persuaded us that what she was doing was acceptable? Faith and hope are deeply wounded. It will take some time before they reconcile with it all. Until then, they didn't realize their actions put them on par with the very people they had long disdained, Carrie added. I commented, give this some thought. You blamed our father without considering his perspective. Have you ever considered how our actions and mom contributed to his situation? Or were you only concerned with yourself? Carrie responded, that's a question I'm still grappling with myself. Mother colored our reality with rose-tinted glasses, justifying everything using her liberal views. It took her getting caught for us to see the truth about our world. I added, unfortunately, most of society is still wearing those glasses and are oblivious to the truth they're facing. My eldest asked, what do you mean, Dad? To which I replied, the capacity to think logically about even simple things. That's what sets my world apart from your mother's. Unfortunately, you had to learn it the hard way. On Wednesday night, I went to Karen's for a family dinner. The girls wished to initiate preparations for the relocation and decide on the execution method. I shared with them the insights gained from Carrie the night prior. Post-dinner, we undertook the chore of washing dishes. I was responsible for washing, while they handled drying and storing. Eventually, the girls discovered our kissing moments. They persisted in jesting about it throughout the remainder of the evening. On Friday evening, Karen and I were out preparing for a quiet dinner at a restaurant near the pier. We sat facing each other, deep in eye contact, sipping drinks before ordering when the twins arrived. The host approached us. Your daughters noticed your missed greeting and inquired if they could join your table, the host explained. I was hesitant, but Karen responded, yes, we'd be happy for them too. Standing up, I shifted seats to sit next to her. Things can't stay as they are with them, no matter what. I know you aren't fond of them at the moment, but you still care for them, Karen asserted. You need to listen to them, which I reluctantly agreed with Karen. As the waitress escorted my daughters towards our table, it was evident they had heavy thoughts. After they sat down, I began, meet Karen, not only my lawyer, but also my girlfriend. I added, if you're here to criticize me further, please just leave. Faith responded, we deserve that. We talked with Carrie the previous night, and she was relentless in her criticism. We anticipated support. Instead, we received unvarnished truth. By the end of the conversation, we understood the true reflection of ourselves through our actions. It doesn't portray us favorably, Faith concluded. Carrie made us realize that we were being compensated for our work like a prostitute, though in a roundabout way. Discussing our actions, we recognized that many homeless individuals resort to such behaviors out of necessity, not desire. Unaware, we engaged in these activities for amusement, assuming we were not transgressing. However, this realization heightens the gravity of our actions. Upon returning home, we had a heated argument with Mom after revealing what we'd done. Eventually, she accused us of being overly influenced by conservative ideologies. In one of her passionate outbursts, she said, if others suffer, they should mature. Our society only condemns those who get caught. There are no repercussions for social transgressions. This is reminiscent of our federal government, influential figures illegally earning money and facing no consequences. Hope added, nothing is entirely good or evil. Each person has the autonomy to live as they choose. Despite our revelation, Mom continues to display no regret or guilt. We're moving into a nearby apartment for 6 months, a 2-bedroom place we've rented. It's close to the school where we both teach. This is our first step in rebuilding our lives, distancing ourselves from our mother's lies and discovering who we truly are. Faith and I will be moving in tomorrow as Mom has some political obligations, Hope explained. Upon seeing you, we both felt the need to apologize. We were in the wrong. You had no other option but to act as you did. We understand that now, Hope said. We needed to deal with it on our own terms. Sometimes, things must be left to find their own resolution, I replied. I've already forgiven you because your actions were shaped by our mother. Kendra, I'll pardon, but won't offer another opportunity. Her actions have consistently been self-serving and calculated. Nevertheless, I passed them my phone and requested they input their contact details. They complied and entered my new number in theirs. "Where's the area code for this number?" Hope inquired. "South Dakota," I responded. "Wow, you moved back to Grandpa's farm?" Faith exclaimed with a wide grin. "He would be so proud." "Do you know the farm?" Karen asked. "Yes, Father ensured we spent every summer there as kids," Hope explained, "until we reached high school and adopted the typical adolescent attitude. We all learned to drive on Grandpa's tractor. Father used to take us out and bring us back. He would talk to us each night while we were there. We didn't hear from Mom during that time. We understood with her it was out of sight, out of mind. Grandma once said Mom was the most shallow person she ever knew." "So, Dad, what are you doing in town?" Faith queried. "Karen, could we have your phone number?" The dinner transformed into a festive event. The twins discovered about the new house being constructed and the reason for my visit in town. They found out Karen has two daughters slightly younger. As we dined, Hope received a message from her elder sister asking if they were all right. Hope replied, "Dining with Dad and his girlfriend Karen. Faith and I will drop by later to clarify everything." We strolled along the pier, enjoying a peaceful walk, marveling at how things were gradually falling into place. "I'm taken aback," Karen remarked. "Leaving them behind, making them sort most of it out on their own." My father commented, "Give someone enough freedom and they'll create their own problems," I echoed. "It's accurate." Their actions, exposed by their peers, revealed their true nature. If I had been present, it would have been a 4 versus 1 situation. Instead, they were at odds with themselves. Their innate sense of honesty and morality brought about their downfall. "Evil isn't real unless it's fostered by someone fulfilling others' wishes," Karen asserted. "On the contrary, numerous individuals in our society attribute fault to others rather than themselves. In a sense, I was their scapegoat. I couldn't conform to their actions as I perceived them as always unjust," I replied. "To Karen, this was a flaw to exploit against you," I added. "However, I view it as one of your strengths because your conduct showcases your character. You could never be a follower, swayed by the caprices of those lacking morals. You're steadfast and unyielding." Upon returning home, Kendra anticipated finding her twin daughters. The weekend political event had run longer than anticipated, and she contemplated taking them out for the night. She pondered their recent disagreement and acknowledged she had crossed a line. It had turned sour because she perceived traits of their father in them, and she couldn't tolerate that. After placing her purse on the counter to grab a Coke from the refrigerator, she noticed 2 house keys and a brief note on top. The message read, "We have left. We dislike what you helped us create. Best of luck with your life. We've blocked your number." It was signed by Faith and Hope. Carrie remarked, "I haven't heard from them since Tuesday night when Dad had the Hampton Inn security remove them," revealing her curiosity about Mother's reaction. "Why did he do that?" Kendra inquired. "They intended to inform him of how poorly he treated you. They verbally attacked him as if they were trying to belittle him," Carrie explained. Dad, exasperated, called security and told them he wasn't interested in their business, according to Carrie. Security then escorted them out the back door, assuming they were high-class prostitutes, she added. "But they aren't, and you know that," Kendra said, expressing concern. When they arrived here in tears, they shared their story with me. "Would you like to hear what I told the mother?" Carrie inquired. "I'm curious, yes, perhaps," Kendra responded. "I informed them that when their companions were whining and whining them over, it wasn't out of affection," Carrie elaborated. Carrie found her mother's reaction amusing because her face turned blank. Kendra started crying. Carrie's words resonated deeply with her. She knew she could never communicate directly with her husband Colin again or be in his presence. What Carrie disclosed was a reflection of her father's reality. Kendra understood it immediately, and without uttering a single word to any of them, it shattered them all. No one who spoke the truth could dispute that straightforward statement. Everyone who heard it would acknowledge it as an unadorned fact. All those weekend getaways with her companions, which she considered romantic escapades, were simply payments for her services. Colin chose not to dress up the raw truth. It took her several weeks to comprehend his words from the video upon her return home from Vancouver. Her behavior transformed her twin's perception of her into someone he had seen her as for over a decade a high-class prostitute. No man could accept that reality. It's no surprise he abandoned them. She left him no other option. Only now does she understand his perspective. If the truth about her actions were revealed, she would be ruined. He knew this and chose to leave. The one thing he gave her that she hadn't given him was her dignity. She had destroyed not only herself, but also her entire family with her progressive lifestyle. She lost contact with her husband and daughters because she refused to acknowledge the truth about her actions. Admitting fault wasn't part of her progressive way. For the first time, she had no one else to blame. This was all on her. Confronting the truth was difficult. Kendra surveyed the house, understanding that she needed to sell it in order to move forward. The numerous memories were two painful reminders of what she had lost. Facing reality was tough. She expressed her house being too large for her, a sentiment everyone accepted. Eric Hopper would have approved, as he considered her fortunate in the circumstances. She would resemble him, living in solitude. Karen and I returned to her home following an evening of drinking and dancing, falling asleep together on the couch. Meadow and Amber took advantage of this situation, using Karen's phone to send pictures to my two youngest daughters, who subsequently called back. The four of them conspired. One of her daughters covered us with a blanket, awakening me to find an angelic figure sleeping in my arms. My phone displayed the time as past 7 a.m., suggesting we had fallen asleep around 1 a.m. Meadow was already awake, seated in a chair observing us. "I suppose I'll have to get accustomed to this," Meadow commented with a smile. Mom appeared content and serene. "I'll make coffee for everyone." Approximately an hour later, we sat around the kitchen table, unwinding and conversing, when the girls sprang their surprise on us. This afternoon, Karen mentioned that her family would be arriving for a gathering. Rushing together, we prepared. I verified the barbecue's fuel supply, which was sufficient, while she changed clothes. Following the creation of our grocery list, we headed to my apartment so I could take a quick shower and shave. We then moved on to the local supermarket. As we approached the entrance, we unexpectedly encountered Kendra exiting. She stopped in front of me. "Colin, inform the girls that I'm selling the house," Kendra said. "If they want anything, Carrie still has a key. Since they're not speaking to me, they can take what they wish while I'm at work. The same applies to you. I'll relay the message and empower Karen with power of attorney to act on my behalf," I replied. "As for myself, I took what I needed when I departed. I will only be in town for another 6 days." She nodded and walked off. We proceeded to load the car with groceries and discussed our uneasy encounter with Kendra. "It appears something significant has transpired in Kendra's life, which remains undisclosed," I stated. "She seemed distracted today." "Could the twins leaving be the reason?" Karen proposed. "No, she was accustomed to our solitude," I replied. "Therefore, another event must have unfolded that she's trying to grapple with. Despite her affinity for that house, whatever occurred took her by surprise and impacted her significantly." During the barbecue, Karen and I uncovered what the twins had penned to their mother and what Carrie had commented afterwards. Our 5 daughters got along splendidly. David and I predominantly observed from the sidelines as the women interacted. Amber and Meadow pampered little Colin. I informed my daughters about their mother's remarks at the grocery store. David expressed a desire for the large plasma TV. Carrie merely sighed in response. I smiled to myself. Our initial family gathering couldn't have been more successful. After my daughters departed and the cleanup was completed, we unwinded with an ice-cold beer. Essentially, Faith and Hope have severed ties with their mother momentarily as they seek to discover their individual identities apart from her. Amber questioned this decision, and Karen wondered why they would take such a step. They had imitated their mother's lifestyle and engaged in friends with benefits relationships, which led to the downfall of their first marriages, as I pointed out. After leaving Kendra, it was only then that they recognized their own circumstances more clearly. Last Tuesday, they confronted me regarding my treatment of their mother. As a result, I expelled them from our home. During a heated argument with their elder sister Carrie later that night, it was revealed that when their friends with benefits were showering them with special treatment, they were actually being compensated in advance for their services. Amber was taken aback by this revelation. Amber and Meadow, David said, we were both taught at a young age that self-perception doesn't define us. It's the perception of others that truly matters. People interpret our actions and words differently, he added. David's statement resonated with Karen, who agreed wholeheartedly. She added that actions truly reveal one's character, and this was why their father's behavior had left them puzzled as it conflicted with his words. As a result, the twins decided to distance themselves from their mother temporarily to better understand themselves. They acknowledged their actions, showing maturity. I was proud of them, I shared. The healing process had begun for them due to their honesty about their behavior. It seemed our conversation left a lasting impact as a brief silence ensued, only broken by Amber's comment, "You're going to make a great dad, Dad." Karen burst into laughter, and the following days were peaceful. Karen and I spent a lot of time together, and the new tractor performed well in tests, earning the name Beta. Before my departure, we had a family gathering where the twins grew closer to Karen's daughters, with Colin being particularly fond of Karen. Her maternal instincts were evident. Eric and Karen reached an accord regarding property division. On parting, she offered him the house, which he accepted, as it seemed his opportunity to regain custody of his daughters. Karen observed Eric board a plain home. It was towards the end of August. The homestead was in readiness, the old house demolished and new one erected. The barn had been renovated where necessary, and even the yard was tidied up. The last task completed was rebuilding the driveway to the house and barn. Uncle John drove Eric to the airport because he would be driving a U-Haul back. Karen sold her practice with an associate to finalize the divorce in early September. Over the past month, there were numerous deliveries to the farm. Uncle John assisted in setting up new furniture, disposing of unwanted items from his parents' belongings to Goodwill, or finding them new homes. It was heartening to see neighbors lending assistance to each other once more. Karen greeted Eric at the airport that Friday around 6 with the broadest smile ever seen. Amber and Meta were with her. After long-awaikedly kissing Karen, I knelt and proposed, bringing joy to her daughters who were secretly aware of my surprise. They recorded everything, including me slipping the ring onto her finger. Amber and Meadow had organized a grand dinner celebration at a restaurant with food and dancing for us all. Our daughters and David attended as well. The ladies kept us on the dance floor for most of the night between David and myself. When we reached Karen's home, Meadow instructed us to wait in the car briefly. She and Amber then reappeared with a large overnight bag for their mother. "Mom, Dad," Meadow announced, "we reserved a suite at the Hampton Inn for the weekend." "We don't wish to see you until Monday," Amber added. In our suite, we discovered a large basket containing 2 bottles of champagne, chocolates, strawberries, 2 glasses, balloons, and roses. A card read, "Congrats from your 5 daughters." I'm certain we didn't leave the suite over the weekend. Following an enjoyable breakfast on Monday, we fetched a U-Haul, which turned out to be larger than anticipated. Karen mentioned that I would need to wait till afternoon for the unveiling. Fate and Hope arrived and disclosed they were moving east as well. They had secured jobs near where I'd be residing, employed by the Vermilion School Board. Karen had provided them with some furniture, and we transported what they took from their mother's house to a rental storage unit. They rented a 3-bedroom house via a real estate agent so that when the weather was unfavorable, Amber could stay with them. I filed a lawsuit against Eric Hopper, who agreed to cover all my court expenses in Vancouver. We obtained our divorce certificates by the end of September. On the last Saturday in October, Karen and I exchanged our vows before our combined family. Carrie and David arrived with little Colin to participate. In front of everyone, Karen surprised me, my dear husband, with an unexpected announcement: a new addition to our world is expected around May. Our doctor hasn't shared the gender details yet.